What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and this one breaks down what's going on with Tesla stock, what's going on with Nvda, SPY, the QQQ, and many tickers out there. I'm going to talk about what's going on with the overall market on the headlines so far, what initial jobless claims is telling us, and what I think is very likely to happen in the market is we're going to see some profit taking very soon. But before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things real quick. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks plus a $50 cash reward. The offer ends in just 7 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, looking at the market, things are looking very interesting for Tesla. We have a bearish divergence, and we actually have many of them developing on different tickers out there, such as like SPY and also on the QQQ and Aapl. And that tells me that the market's going to likely see some downside, not to mention the fact that there's going to be some profit taking very soon as we have Jerome Powell's speech tomorrow. We have some Fed speakers coming out throughout the day today, and that could also contribute to it, not to mention the fact that there's uncertainty approaching Jerome Powell's speech. So what's going on with the headlines? What is the news saying? The market climbed, it's gapping up as we had Nvidia's earnings, as I expected. I told you guys about this yesterday. But if you climb a building, or if you try to like build a building and you don't have a really strong foundation, if you just go up too hard too fast, right, things could start crumbling down anyways, right, if you don't have that strong foundation. And the market just blew past so much resistance as Nvidia was pumping that we haven't really established a very strong base. So the market's hitting these new territories and it's having a hard time, in my opinion, to sustain them. This is what I was talking about yesterday. Not to mention the fact that with all these people holding on to their Nvidia shares or their gains, are they going to hold on to everything overnight? That's my question. Are they going to just hold it and hold it and hold it? Or are they going to be taking profits because we're approaching Jerome Powell's speech? Why would they hold everything throughout Jerome Powell's speech? That does not make sense to me. I think the odds greatly favor a lot of profit taking on Nvidia and many tickers out there as well. For the big things affecting the markets, I think we have some new flavors coming out for Starbucks. Not sure why this is making the headlines. But then we also have Nvidia continuing to soar, making lots of headlines too. Not to mention Nvidia getting the chip boost with lots and lots of these sales basically going forward. So things are looking pretty good for them. And then on top of all of this, we have initial jobless claims that came out as expected. So nothing too bad for that, but the market is still kind of shopping as this came out. And besides that, we have the Jackson Hole Symposium today, which means that we're going to see some Fed speakers here and there. I think beforehand and also after. At around 1 o'clock p.m., we may see more of them Eastern time. That's New York time. So there are going to be some Fed speakers throughout the day. I don't really know all their names or the exact times of them, but there are going to be some of them. And it's very important that we look at this and know what's going on. And then besides this, for Friday, we have Jerome Powell's speech very, very soon. With Jerome Powell giving his speech, at about like 10 o'clock a.m. tomorrow, there might be some profit taking at the end of the day today. Completely normal as there's uncertainty approaching the event. For Tesla, I'm just seeing some news about the Cybertruck as of right now, not really seeing anything too crazy. I'm not really seeing any like crazy headlines so far at the time I'm recording this. So with nothing really coming out, I don't really see how any major news will affect Tesla so far, unless something comes out later on. So be on the lookout for that. But now I'm just going to briefly talk about the charts. I just want to mention that on Tesla, there's a bearish divergence that formed right here. We're about to get a bearish cross in the PPO. And then looking at my trading view chart, basically this thing is going to come down to 238. If that breaks, watch 237.5. And then 236 below that. We have the previous resistance becoming support and also this imbalance right here. If 236 breaks, watch 235 to 234. And if that breaks, there's the 232s followed by 230. If 230 fails us, then we have like 226 to 225, followed by 221. Now, those are just supports. For resistance, we have 240, 242-ish, and then 244. What do I think Tesla's going to do? Well, with this bearish divergence and the market potentially selling off, look for a little pop to 240, maybe a little higher before this thing starts sinking down to about 236 at the very least, if not lower than that. But I do believe it's either going to pop and drop or it just starts dropping from here. It's got to be one of those two. And then watch 238 as support. If that fails us, 236 is coming, followed by 235 to 234 most likely. So I do anticipate downside nonetheless being the bigger move, either a little pop, then a drop on Tesla, or it drops even lower, and then watch supports to see how low it goes. I believe it's going to make its way down to 236 at the very least, if not even lower than that, down to like 233 or even the very low 230s. So be on the lookout for that. That's what I'm seeing for Tesla. On SPY, the same thing is going on with it. It's actually looking even more bearish because we have a head and shoulders pattern. We have a head and shoulders that develop. We have the left shoulder, the head, and then the right shoulder right here between the after hours yesterday and the pre-markets today. And then on top of that, on SPY, I just want to mention this right here. We also have this bearish divergence that formed on the RSI, and the MACD is getting this bearish crossover on the PPO. Also on the 1 hour, it's showing the same thing, the bearish divergence. I already checked everything. So it looks to me like SPY either pops a little bit back to like 445, and then it starts sinking eventually down to about 4. It's going to touch 444 basically. If that fails us, it's going to likely come down to the 442s. And if that fails us, if 442 breaks, it's going to come down to the 441 zone, which is where we have the support right here. If that fails us, there's 440 followed by 439. Every dollar or even like 50-cent range can act as some support, but 438 is going to be the next major support below that. So I think it's going to likely see some downside nonetheless. Either it pops a little bit first, then it just drops, or it just drops from here. 444 is going to be our pivot. If that breaks, this is a very, very important level. It's going to come all the way down to 442 or lower than that, possibly even down to like 440. Watch support very carefully and just know either a pop or drop, or like a drop from here is going to be the bigger move. QQQ is doing the same thing. There's a bearish divergence. I already checked on the RSI and the MACD on the 30 minutes and the 1 hour time frame. Basically, I looked here. It has a bearish divergence on the RSI especially. So that's telling me this thing is going to get dragged down, possibly thanks to Nvda and these other stocks out there. This bearish divergence is right here, by the way. Same thing with the bearish cross on the PPO. So it could be forming kind of like a slanted head and shoulders like pattern. It's going to likely start sinking. Either look for a pop back up to like 373, then a drop, or it just starts dropping from here. If it starts dropping from here, you're going to be watching the 371.5 area. If that breaks, there's 370. And if 370 fails us, there's this imbalance down at 369. It's going to likely come all the way down to that imbalance and get dragged down from here. Either way, I'm leaning the direction of downside for today. Because of some profit taking, because of Apple also forming a bearish cross in the PPO. Apple's also forming a bearish divergence, and so is, I think, Nvidia may be looking just bearish in general. But anyways, we have this head and shoulders like pattern developing on Apple. If it breaks below 180, you're going to be watching 179.9, followed by 178.5 below that. And every like 50 cents to $1 increments on Apple are going to act as support too, or resistance. But I see this either popping to like 181, then dropping, or it just drops from here. If it breaks below 180, that's going to be a big sign of a pivot all the way down to about the 178. And that's where the previous resistance becoming support is going to be. So the odds favor downside, either a pop and drop or a drop from here on Apple. That's what the odds greatly favor. And then I was talking about Nvidia as well. Why am I calling downside on it? Well, the thing about it is it's holding for now. There's going to be a pop for the time being, but there's going to be profit taking later on throughout the day. That's what I'm predicting. So Nvidia might try to hold up. It could even pop a little bit more, get another pop, retest like 510 or so. But then what's going to happen over time, in my opinion, is going to just chop around this area and slowly get closer to 500. And eventually we're going to see if it holds it or not. I think it might actually end up breaking below that a little bit as time goes on. I'm not saying it's going to like crash or anything. I'm just saying it's going to likely like downtrend a little bit slowly with some profit taking. 495 to 490 could come. If 490 breaks, we could see it come all the way down to like 483. I'm not counting on 483 to come that quickly, but I wouldn't rule it out. But I do believe it's going to come down all the way back to 500 at the very least, if not break a little bit below that. And we may see some downside on it, which could drag the market down. Now, I see this trend basically being followed on like many different stocks out there, but that's what I have for this video. I want to keep this one kind of quick. There's going to likely be profit taking. We have Jerome Powell's speech very, very soon. So watch for a pop and drop on Tesla and many of these different stocks, or we could just start dropping from here. Okay, so I want to make that as clear as possible. Jerome Powell's giving a speech tomorrow. The market is unsure about it. We have some Fed speakers throughout the day, today even. So be ready, do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Tesla in the market to the moon as the long term is very bright. And don't forget to look at any new news for Tesla before we open. And peace out.